එදිනෙදා ඔබේ මුළු සිරුරටම රැකවරණයක්. සුදේශී කොඹ සබන්.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50 අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, twisted logic. Presidential Commission of Inquiry hears Easter bombers' previously unreleased rationale for Sri Lankan attacks. Stick to your role. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa calls on opposition to seek government's defeat through elections. Back to no good. Police deploy teams to arrest resurgence in underworld activity following the lifting of curfew. The blame game continues. US President terminates his country's relationship with the World Health Organization. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 30th of May, 2020.
සිරා කොක්කක් සෙට් කරගන්න ඔබේ ඇඳුම එළිය රැකගන්න.
නවරින් සෑම සේවීමකින්ම ඇඳුමට අලුත් එළිය.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Thammika Ekanaika. Let's start with your local stories. Now, a senior officer of the Terrorism Investigation Division revealed Zaran Hashim's list of reasons for choosing Sri Lanka as the location of his attack to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the bombings. Some of the reasons cited in previously unreleased video footage of the bombers was revenge for the Christchurch mosque shooting in New Zealand in March 2019, alleged insults against the Islamic faith, and in hope the attack could inspire more Sri Lankan Muslims to gather around the Islamic State banner.
The Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday attacks heard evidence yesterday from a senior officer of the Terrorism Investigation Division who investigated the bombing at the Tropical Inn in Dehiwala. The witness was first questioned as to whether prior information had been received on Jamil Mohammed, the Tropical Inn attacker, to which he replied that intelligence information signed off by IGP Pujit Jayasundara had been received by his division on 9 December 2017. The three-page document had flagged Jamil Mohammed as an ISIS sympathizer and called for further investigations into his activities, with 8 investigations carried out, of which relevant reports were provided to the IGP. The commission then questioned the witness as to the contents of the report sent to the IGP, who responded that the reports revealed that the suspect did not use social media and that he had also advised his colleagues to avoid using social networking sites. Further, the reports also revealed that the suspect had met with a Sri Lankan national by the name of Nilam, who later joined ISIS and lost his life as a combatant for the group in a foreign country. The witness then stated that on April 12, 2018, the Terrorism Investigation Division had recorded a statement from Jamil Mohammed and reported the facts to the IGP. However, the witness then revealed that the final report sent to the IGP on 8 April 2019 had found no evidence that Jamil Mohammed was inclined towards extremism. The witness then presented the commission with details of his investigations following the attacks, where after the suspect's identification following the Tropical Inn bombing, the investigating team had proceeded to the suspect's Vallampitia residence, where a search uncovered an Apple iPad, 2 laptops, 4 DVDs, and an English language book on extremism and the waging of jihad. During interrogation of the suspect's wife, she revealed that Jamil had sent her a voice message on WhatsApp the morning of the bombing, where he instructed her not to contact him and told her that he had not been truthful with her and that he was intending to follow the path of Allah. The recording also instructed her to show the message to the police. The witness also revealed that although the message had been deleted, officers were able to recover it later on. When the recording was played to the commission, their attention was drawn to the voices of several children in the background. Accordingly, the commission chairman instructed the government analyst to test the background voices against the voice samples of Zaran Hashim's daughter and Jamil Mohammed's children as well. The witness also revealed that the digital video recorder of the CCTV system taken into custody from the Vallampitia residence had shown the suspect leaving the location, but footage pertaining to the 19th, 20th and 21st of April 2019 had been accidentally deleted by a foreign investigator assisting the investigations at the time. When asked if any other evidence was collected during the investigations, The witness replied that he had also received a pen drive, a hard drive, and a memory card from the Akkarepattu police station that contained several videos filmed by the bombers prior to the attack. The commission then inquired from the witness whether any evidence was found to determine the reason for their choice of Easter Sunday as the day of the attacks, to which he responded in the affirmative and revealed that the evidence contained 4 main reasons for the attack and a further list of reasons for carrying out the attack in Sri Lanka compiled by Zaran Hashim. The commission was then played previously unreleased video footage that showed the bombers interacting with each other clad in black garb, filmed prior to their by now famous ISIS pledge video. The 4 reasons for the attack were outlined as to show love for acts approved by Allah and to reject those prohibited by Him, as revenge for attacks on the Islamic Caliphate and the killing of Muslims, as revenge for the killing of Muslim faithful during the Christchurch mass shooting, to target foreigners from countries who support the killing of Muslims in Iraq and Syria who are staying at tourist hotels in the country. In addition, the other reasons for carrying out the attack in Sri Lanka are for insulting and abusing Allah, for the placing of an image of a pig with the name Allah drawn on it in Kuliyapitiya, for comments made by Venerable Jnanasara Thera, where he stated that Allah too could be reincarnated, for abusive comments regarding the Prophet Muhammad, for the willful destruction of copies of the Quran, for the demolition of mosques, for the burning of Muslim homes and the destruction of their livelihoods, for Sri Lanka's participation in the international Christian crusade against Muslims, and in accordance with the laws of Prophet Muhammad, where he calls for the killing of non-believers. In addition, several other facts outlined by Zaran Hashim were also revealed in the videos. These include the belief that the sacrificing of their lives for the cause offered a direct path to paradise, and that the attacks could inspire more Sri Lankan Muslims to following the Islamic State. Zaharan also stated that the flesh and blood that is spilled through these attacks will serve as seeds of the Islamic Caliphate in the country, and that the attacks must be carried out targeting their opponents in India as well. Zaharan also stated that the attack is to be carried out in defense of the Muslim people and as a tribute to Allah. Calling the bombings just the beginning, Zaharan also revealed plans to carry out several group assassinations while urging non-believers to embrace Islam or pay or submit to religious taxation. Zaharan also warned that Sri Lanka's Muslims will be denied paradise for their lack of adequate sacrifices when fasting and visiting Mecca.
Now, an island-wide curfew will be in effect tomorrow and will be lifted at 4 a.m. on Monday, the 1st of June. Once the curfew is lifted at 4 a.m. on Monday, the curfew will continue to be in effect only between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. until the 3rd of June. In the meantime, Sri Lankan recoveries rose by 27 cases today, taking the total figure to 781, while 8 more infections or COVID-19 infections reported today took active case numbers to 775.
Sri Lanka's recoveries rose today after 27 patients were given the all-clear to return home, taking the country's total to 781. Meanwhile, the total number of active cases rose to 775, with the addition of 8 cases detected today. Included in 28 fresh cases detected yesterday were 17 naval personnel and 11 Sri Lankan foreign returnees. Apart from the naval personnel who have been diagnosed as COVID-19 positive, a total of 13 army personnel have also been identified as COVID-19 positive. Among the total number of identified army cases is a soldier who had been involved in directing Sri Lankan returnees to quarantine centres. Health officials had directed the family members of the army personnel to quarantine centres, while also taking measures to place several areas of Kandana in Horana under quarantine. In the meantime, a Navy sailor on active duty at the Navy-owned Gafur building in Fort Colombo had tested positive for the virus on the 27th of this month. Accordingly, PCR tests were conducted on selected persons residing in the area surrounding the Gafur building.
කුඩානියන්දියත් තෝරාගෙන මේ අවට ප්‍රදේශවල කඩසාප්පුවල වැඩ කරන පුද්ගලයන්ගේ PCR පරීක්ෂණ 35ක් පමණ සිදු කිරීමටයි අපගේ බලාපොරොත්තුව. ඊයේ සිදු කරපු PCR පරීක්ෂණ වලින් අපේ ආසාදිතයන් එකිනෙකවත් ප්‍රජා සාම්පල වලින් හමු වී නැහැ.
With continuous random PCR tests being conducted on selected groups across the country, biological samples of a group of fishermen in Beruwala were obtained today. In the meantime, a group of Sri Lankans that were stranded in Australia and India were brought back to the island this morning. The first flight arrived at the Bandaranaike International Airport at around 4:45 a.m. today, carrying 18 Sri Lankan Triforces personnel from Mumbai, India. The second flight, with 286 Sri Lankans aboard, returned from Melbourne, Australia at around 5:50 a.m. The returnees were disinfected and sent to quarantine centres. Meanwhile, another 109 persons who returned to Sri Lanka from Japan were sent home after completing their quarantine at the Ayurveda General Hospital in Rajagiriya. In the meantime, according to a statement released by the President's Media Division on the 28th of this month, an island-wide curfew will come into effect tomorrow until 4 a.m. on the 1st of June. Once the curfew is lifted on Monday the 1st of June at 4 a.m., It will be reimposed at 10 p.m. later that day, and this cycle will continue until Wednesday the 3rd of June. An island-wide curfew once again goes into effect across the country on the 4th and 5th of June, restricting all manner of movement. The curfew will be lifted at 4 a.m. on the 6th of June and will be reimposed at 10 p.m. on the same day, and as before, this cycle will continue to be in effect until further notice.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Now, in the meantime, Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena has pledged to continue the government's efforts to repatriate all Sri Lankans seeking return to the country in face of COVID-19 threats in their host nations. Issuing a statement, the Foreign Minister highlighted the urgent need to repatriate 7,000 Sri Lankans from the Maldives in the backdrop of a red alert issued by the Maldivian government requesting all foreign countries to immediately repatriate their nationals.
Minister of Foreign Relations Dinesh Gunawardena has reassured that the repatriation of migrant workers from the Middle East as well as other regions will continue in a manner sensitive to the vulnerability of these communities, particularly those who have lost legal status or employment in their host countries. The Foreign Ministry states that this process is to be carried out in consultation with the COVID-19 task force in view of the considerable strain placed on the health sector and quarantine centres following the increased number of infected cases among repatriates. The Foreign Minister noted that according to the latest update, as at 27th May, 42,522 Sri Lankans in 123 countries were seeking to return to Sri Lanka, and of these, migrant workers amounted to 34,881, of which 20,893 are living in the Middle East, while 4,961 are short-term visa holders and 2,016 are students. It was pointed out that at present the greatest vulnerability was in the Maldives, but particularly in Greater Malé, where a red alert has been declared by the Maldivian government, which has explicitly requested foreign governments to evacuate their citizens. Of approximately 7,000 Sri Lankans presently seeking repatriation from the Maldives, about 2,000 of them are located in Greater Malé. In addition, 284 have already been repatriated on 14th May, and special approval had to be secured to evacuate a few medical emergency cases from Outer Malé. The Foreign Ministry says that it has already consulted the Maldivian authorities, who have expressed willingness for PCR tests to be carried out in advance on Sri Lankans to be repatriated, provided that PCR test kits and medical personnel from Sri Lanka would be made available. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment have pledged to continue to support migrant communities abroad through the provision of dry rations and medicines and helping with medical emergencies in their locations, while continuing to facilitate repatriation for those seeking to do so.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa stated today that while the holding of elections remains the duty and the responsibility of the Election Commissioner, the duty of the opposition should ideally be to seek the defeat of the incumbent government through elections without seeking a postponement to the people's right to choose a government of their choice. The Prime Minister made these remarks when he met media personnel following a visit to the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic in Kandy.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa visited the sacred Temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy this morning and obtained blessings. The Prime Minister then addressed the media at the premises.
අනිවාර්යෙන් මැතිවරණයක් තියන්න බෑ. ඉතින් ඒක සඳහා මැතිවරණ කොමසාරිස්වරයා සූදානම් වෙන්න ඕන. ඒකේ වගකීම හා යුතුයකම. මැතිවරණ තියන්නනේ කොමිසමක් තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒකින්ද එයාලා මං හිතන්නේ ඒකට සූදානම් වෙනවා. නඩුවේ තීත්ව ආපු ගමන් ඒ කටයුතු කරයි. එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂ විසින් චෝදනා කරන මැතිවරණයක් තියන්න බෑ කාලවකවානුව නෙමෙයි. නෑ මං හිතන්නේ එයාලට මම දන්නේ ඇයි කියලා. මොකද අපි විපක්ෂයේ ඉන්නකොට අපිට ඕනකම තියෙන්නේ ආණ්ඩුව පෙරලන්නනේ. පුළුවන් තරම් ඉක්මනින් ආණ්ඩුව පෙරලන්න. ඒකට මැතිවරණ අපි ඉල්ලනවා. ආණ්ඩුව තමයි කල් දාන්න මහන්සි ගන්නේ. මේක අනිත් පැත්ත. ජනතාව තේරුම් ගන්නවා මේකට හේතුව මොකද කියලා. සහල් වල ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා සර්. නෑ දැන් අපි ඉලා සාකච්ඡා කළා ජනාධිපතිවරයා හාල් වලට යන වියදම පිළිබඳව ගණන් හදලා උන්ගේ ලාභ පිළිබඳව ඒ ඔක්කොම ගණන් හදලා තමයි 96ට තීන්දුව කරේ. සර් මේකට ටාස්ක් ෆෝස් සම්බන්ධ තවමත් යුක්ති ඉස්පෙලා නැහැ කියලා අගරාධිපතිතුමා තවමත් මේක උඩින් පල්ලෙන් කළා දෙන්නේ තුන් දෙනෙකුට දඬුවම් කරන එක නෙවෙයි ඕන මේකේ අභ්‍යන්තරය හොයා ගන්න. දැන් පෞගිය දවසක Facebook එකේ දාලා තිබුණා නම්බර දීලා තා ප්‍රහාරයක් එල්ල කරනවා වගේ. දැන් අපි මේ පුද්ගලයා අත්අඩංගුවට අරගෙන දැන් ප්‍රශ්න කරමින් යනවා. ඉතින් ඒ කියන්නේ අපි පිටිපස්සෙන් දුවනවා.
The Prime Minister then visited the Malvatu Mahavyaraya and called on the Chief Prelate of the chapter, Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Siddhartha Sumangalathera. Following this, the Prime Minister also called on the Deputy Chief Prelate of the chapter, Venerable Dibul Kumure Sri Vimala Dharmathera. Prime Minister Rajapaksa then visited the Asgiriya Viharaya and called on the chapter's chief prelate, Venerable Varakagoda Sri Jnana Ratanathera.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, increased underworld gang activity has been reported in the past week following relative peace and calm throughout the country due to the curfew restrictions. The latest of which was a shooting incident this morning in Waligama, where a youth was attacked by a gunman but escaped with injuries. Meanwhile, the police has decided to interdict 3 police personnel for failing to prevent another shooting incident in Ratmalana earlier this week while on protection duty at the location. The police have deployed several teams to apprehend the suspects.
A youth has been shot and injured in Mirissa at around 7:30 a.m. today by 2 persons who arrived on a motorcycle. The 28-year-old, who was at a nearby shop when the incident occurred, managed to run to a nearby house to safety. The gunman had continued to fire at him while he attempted to escape. However, the residents of the area managed to capture the motorcyclist and handed him over to the police. The arrested suspect has been identified as a 25-year-old residing in Midigama and is currently receiving treatment at the District General Hospital in Mathura under police custody. Police suspect that the attack has been carried out by associates of underworld leader Chintaka. The injured youth has been named as Amila Prasad, alias Sunshine Suddha. He is also considered a close associate of underworld leader Markandure Madhush. Furthermore, he is also receiving treatment at the District General Hospital in Mathura. The Waligama police are conducting further investigations to apprehend the main suspect involved in the incident. In a separate development, police have taken steps to interdict 3 police officers who were stationed at the restaurant which was subjected to an attack last Thursday in Soizapura, Ratmalana. The action was taken against the police personnel after probes found them to have neglected their duties during the attack. Police media spokesman SP Jalya Senaratna said that the interdicted officers consist of a sergeant and 2 constables. The officers are attached to the Mount Lavinia police station. The police have also deployed teams to investigate the incident. In the meantime, another shooting took place at the Lakseta Savana housing complex in the Maligavatta police division this evening. A 35-year-old has reportedly been injured in the incident and was admitted to the intensive care unit of the Colombo National Hospital. Police investigations are underway in relation to the incident.
A curfew was placed over the district of Nuwara today to prevent large crowds from gathering for the funeral of Ceylon Workers' Congress leader late Arumugan Thondaman. Accordingly, the late politician's remains were moved to the headquarters of the Ceylon Workers' Congress in Kottagala and remained open for public respects. The funeral rites will take place tomorrow at the Norwood Grounds in Hatton.
The remains of late leader of the Ceylon Workers' Congress, Arumugam Thondaman, was moved to the Ceylon Workers' Congress headquarters in Kottagala today at 11:40 am from his residence in Ramboda, Kotmale. His remains were moved after a series of rituals were conducted in accordance to Hindu and Buddhist traditions. The body was transported to the Ceylon Workers' Congress headquarters today without any stops in accordance to the COVID-19 funeral procedures. The remains of the late politician will lie at the headquarters of the CWC and will remain open to the members of the public to pay their respects while adhering to the health and safety guidelines. The funeral will take place tomorrow at the Norwood Grounds in Hatton.
Now, wildlife officers have rescued another leopard caught in a snare yesterday, this time in Yatiyantota. This follows the tragic death yesterday of a rare black leopard following its rescue that caused public outrage. Wildlife officers had taken steps to tranquilize the big cat, who had been trapped close to an inhabited area. The animal has been caught in the trap at around 8:30 am yesterday, around the same time that the rare black leopard was being treated for its injuries after being caught in a similar trap on the 27th. The country's environmental experts have warned of the dangers to vulnerable animal species of using such snares, which could result in death by strangulation. Now, the central bank has reported a drop in year-on-year May headline inflation to 4% and a drop to 2.9% in core inflation for the same period. This was solely attributed to the statistical effect on the high base that prevailed in May 2019. Further, year-on-year food inflation also declined to 9.9% in May from 13.2% in April 2020.
Headline inflation, as measured by the year-on-year change in the Colombo Consumer Price Index, declined to 4% in May 2020 from 5.2% in April. This was solely driven by the statistical effect of the high base that prevailed in May 2019. Meanwhile, year-on-year food inflation declined to 9.9% in May 2020 from 13.2% in April 2020. Further, year-on-year non-food inflation also declined to 1.6% in May from 2.1% in April. The change in the CCPI, measured on an annual average basis, also declined marginally to 4.7% in May from 4.8% in April. The monthly change of the CCPI, recorded at 0.4%, was attributed to price increases observed in the items of both food and non-food categories. Within the food category, prices of fish, dal and rice recorded increases in May 2020. Meanwhile, prices of items in the non-food category recorded increases during the month, owing to price increases of items in the transportation and miscellaneous goods and services subcategories. In addition, the year-on-year core inflation, which reflects the underlying inflation in the economy, declined to 2.9% in May 2020 from 3.1% in April. Further, annual average core inflation also declined to its 12-month low of 4.4% in May 2020 from 4.7% in April.
The announcement of measures against China by the United States President Donald Trump in response to new security legislation imposed on Hong Kong has resulted in an end to a positive run by US shares. However, analysts expect the ongoing tensions between the US and China to erase gains in the global stock market.
US stocks finished mostly higher yesterday after US President Donald Trump announced measures against China in response to new security legislation that were less threatening to the US economy than investors had feared. The Dow ended the session slightly lower, but all three indices registered gains for the month and the week. The S&P 500 initially extended losses after Trump said he was directing his administration to begin the process of eliminating special treatment for Hong Kong in response to China's plans to impose new security legislation in the semi-autonomous territory. Trump made no mention of any action that could undermine the Phase 1 trade deal that Washington and Beijing struck earlier this year, a concern that had cast a cloud over the market throughout the week. The latest confrontation between the US and China has fueled concern that worsening tensions between the two world's largest economies could derail the recent sharp gains in the global stock market. Expectations of a quick economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic have driven the S&P 500 up more than 30% from its March lows.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Chinese state-owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission has announced that a possible COVID-19 vaccine could be ready for public use by the end of the year. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization launched a COVID-19 technology access pool yesterday, along with its member nations, as a means of sharing scientific research, treatment and other health technologies available to the public.
Brazil continues to record the second highest number of infections in the world, second only to the United States, as the country accounted for over 460,000 infections and 27,878 deaths. The country surpassed the toll of hard-hit Spain, making it the country with the fifth highest death toll worldwide. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, 3 scientific advisors to the British government said that the coronavirus is still spreading too fast in the UK to lift restricting measures. These comments came as the UK starts to slightly ease lockdown from Monday, with groups of up to 6 people allowed to meet outside and primary schools reopening to certain year groups. Meanwhile, China's state-owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission said in a social media post that a Chinese-made coronavirus vaccine could be ready by the end of this year. More than 2,000 people have taken part in vaccine trials developed by the Wuhan Institute of Biological Products and the Beijing Institute of Biological Products. The World Health Organization, along with other partners yesterday, officially launched a COVID-19 Technology Access Pool, an initiative aimed at making vaccines, tests, treatments and other health technologies accessible to all.
Tools to prevent, detect and treat COVID-19 are global public goods that must be accessible by all people. Science is giving us solutions, but to make the solutions work for everyone, we need solidarity. COVID-19 has highlighted the inequalities of our world, but it's also offering us an opportunity to bring those inequalities and build a fairer world, a world in which health is not a privilege for the few, but a common good.
US President Donald Trump says that his country is terminating its relationship with the World Health Organization. In a media briefing at the White House, Trump said that the US will be terminating its relationship with the WHO and will redirect funds to other worldwide and deserving urgent global public health needs. In a letter to WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus earlier this month, Trump threatened to permanently cut off the nation's funding to the WHO and will reconsider its membership if the international body does not commit to what he called substantive improvements within the next 30 days. Trump announced in mid-April that his administration would halt US funding to the WHO. The move was criticized by many experts who said that it was an attempt to shift blame and would be counterproductive to addressing the public health crisis. Now in the US, Minneapolis erupted in flames yesterday as protesters took to the streets for a fourth day and defied an 8 p.m. curfew following the death of an unarmed black man last Monday. Armed police were seen patrolling the streets after buildings, including a post office, were set ablaze by protesters. Graphic video taken from an onlooker's mobile phone and widely circulated on the internet showed George Floyd gasping for air and repeatedly pleading for help as a police officer's knee continued to press into his neck. Bystanders were also caught on camera shouting at police to let him up. After several minutes, George Floyd gradually grew unresponsive and ceased to move and was pronounced dead at a local hospital a short time later. The former Minneapolis police officer was charged with murder on Friday in the man's death. The video reignited an outpouring of rage that civil rights activists said has long simmered in Minneapolis and cities across the country over persistent racial bias in the U.S. criminal justice system. The Austrian government has approved the hosting of Formula One season opening races in July. Accordingly, the races scheduled for 5th and the 12th July will take place behind closed doors at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. The 2020 season was due to start in Australia in March, but the coronavirus pandemic forced the postponement of that race and a further 9 more. If the Austria races run successfully, the Formula One season could continue on the 19th of July in Budapest in Hungary. Silverstone agreed a deal for 2 Grand Prix to be held at the British track in August. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.